I used to have a lot of debt, and in this video I will share with you the simple and practical 5 steps that I use to get rid of my debt. So if you have any debt and if you are struggling to get rid of this debt, you need to listen to this video. Hi, my name is Jeena and welcome to my channel. I share lots of practical steps and tricks for saving and investing your hard-earned money for expats like me living in the UK. So I have never admitted to this openly, but I used to have a lot of debt. I remember counting up to £22,000 and then I stopped counting and I started ignoring the problem. And it was probably up to £28,000 in debt before I started dealing with the issue. So the steps I'm discussing is more from personal experience than anything else. One of my viewers, I'm not going to take her name, has requested this topic as well. You know who you are. I hope this helps you. So in today's video, I will discuss the 5 practical steps that I use to get rid of my debt. I'm not talking about good debt here. There's a lot of distinction between good debt and bad debt. I'm talking about bad debt as in consumer loan and credit card debt that I'm referring to. If you do not know the distinction between good debt and bad debt, head over to my Instagram channel where I have explained the difference. So step number 1 is know your why. It's very hard to imagine what life will be like once you've cleared your debt, especially when you've got a large amount of debt. But it's very important to start visioning your future, a life without debt. So as a little example, for me, I had promised myself that I will not decorate my new home or buy any new furniture once we had moved in till I had cleared my debt. So I started imagining what my home and my life would look like once I started decorating my house and having some nice furniture in it. So you may want to look forward to a holiday that you've planned with your family, or a new pair of shoes, or a handbag that you're giving yourself as a treat once you've cleared your debt. So have something positive to look towards as you're clearing your debt. Step number 2 is to face the truth. So I did not do this step very well. It was probably about £22,000 before I started writing it down and facing my debt head on. So try and make yourself a little bit of a chart which says on the first column can be the description of the loan. So debt number 1 can be, you can give a name to it. Debt number 2 may be a loan. Debt number 3, car finance. So label your debt. The second column is the rate of interest. It's very, very important to know the rate of interest you're paying on each debt. Even if it is a 0% interest, write it down. Column number 3 is the minimum payments on each of this debt. Column number 4 is the date before you need to repay these debts. So you're laying out all the facts and figures on a piece of paper or in a book or in a diary or anywhere visible for you. So you know exactly what you're dealing with and exactly what you need to tackle. On to step number 3, which is do not start paying off your loan. Yes, it is a bit counterintuitive. So you need to pay the minimum payments on each of your debts. So keep up with the minimum payment of all your debts and build an emergency fund. So an emergency fund is a small amount of money. So in the UK, it could be about £500. So it's a little bit of a cash buffer in case we have any life emergencies, like if the car breaks down or if the boiler breaks down or if you have any other unforeseen expenses. So this emergency cash buffer is to stop you going further into debt. So it's very important to have a little bit of an emergency fund before you start paying off your debt. Step number 4 is the 2 big ways that you can pay off your debt, which is the snowball method and the avalanche method. Firstly, I'll explain to you about the debt snowball method. So the idea is like a little snowball that starts off small up the hill and then goes downhill and gets bigger and bigger over time. So similarly, with the debt snowball method, you start off with the smallest debt and pay off the minimum balance and extra money onto the smallest debt. Then go to the next smallest debt. And then all the spare money from debt number 1 is rolled on to debt number 2. And then once you finish debt number 2 and go on to debt number 3, but all the spare money with debt number 1 and 2 is then rolled on to debt number 3. So then your payments get bigger and bigger over time, but all the time paying off the minimum balance on all the rest of your loans. The idea with the debt snowball is little wins keep you motivated. So as you finish the first debt, you feel a bit boosted. Then you go into the second debt and then you feel a bit more encouraged. And as you go into the debt number 3, so it's like little wins keeps you motivated and keeps you encouraged to keep going. So that's the idea of the debt snowball method. The debt avalanche method is slightly different. You pay off the minimum balance on all your debt with the debt avalanche method as well, but then focus all your extra money on the biggest debt. Say you have an overdraft that's costing you 40% and have a 0% interest card. You would put all your extra money on the most expensive debt and then go to the second most expensive debt and throw all the extra money onto the second most expensive debt and then the third expensive debt. So the idea being, because you're paying the most money to the most expensive debt, you tackle your debt quicker. So there is no right or wrong way. If you like the idea of little wins, stick to the little wins. If you're more a numbers person, do the avalanche method. There is no right or wrong. Do what is right for you. When I was paying off debt, I did a little bit of both these methods. I first paid off a family member who was not charging me any interest rate, but that loan hurt me the most. So I paid that debt off first and then did the avalanche method and worked through the biggest debt to the smallest debt. The step number 5 and the most important part is to make a budget. So this is where we actually find all the spare money that we have to throw towards our debt. So you need to know all your monthly expenses as well as all your annual expenses, things that we often forget but come around annually, or even quarterly fees like your children's swimming fees or your ballet lessons and things. So budget for all your monthly and your annual expenses and pool that together if you like. And then keep your discretionary spend like your food and your petrol and your miscellaneous expenses, going out bills and things, having fund money, keep that separate. In your monthly expenses, you also need to allocate the minimum expenses on all your debts. So this needs to be budgeted for. So now you know your actual monthly expenses, your monthly bills, your annual bills, plus your discretionary expense. So this is your actual monthly expenses. So this should be less than your income. And if it isn't less than your income, you then need to work on decreasing your monthly expenses or increasing your wages. I've done a whole video on budgeting and how my family budget and the categories that I use. I've also included the template that we use in our family. So feel free to check that out. So I'll just summarize those 5 points for you. First is know your why, vision the future and see how colorful the future will look like debt free. Number 2 is write it down because the truth really hurts. Number 3 is do not start paying off a debt, build up a small emergency cash buffer. Number 4 is the 2 ways to pay off your debt, either the debt snowball or the debt avalanche method. And number 5 is to make a budget. If you have any questions, please drop it in the comments below. If you want it in private, drop me an email. My email ID will be in the description box below. Next week, I'll talk to you about consolidating your debt and keeping it all together and ways to manage your interest rate. So if you do not want to miss that video, please subscribe to my channel. I hope you've liked today's video. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, and you know everything you need to do. Before you go, you may want to check out these other money saving videos of mine. It'll help you get through your debt quicker. Thank you for watching me today. Stay safe. Bye-bye.